Hey guys, my name is Sikelela Sovasi, and in this video I'll be sharing with you about natural versus hybrid or artificial plants and animals, but I'll be sticking more on plants, which is the topic of the day. So the topic actually of gene modification or gene engineering, genetic engineering, is a very old one. It's a very old one. It's been practiced in ancient times by all civilizations all over the world. So it's not something new that just came today as we hear the buzz now about GMOs and everything, but it's everything that is as old as time itself. And it's been happening on both animals and plants. So in the animal world, ancient cultures will domesticate wild animals and tame them, because wild animals are like naturally ferocious. So just to make them more friendly, so they will tame them, and sometimes they will tamper with their genetic structure. So that's why you would see most of the domestic animals would have or would resemble some of the animals in the wild, but in terms of temper and friendliness and everything, they would be like very different. So like one of the examples is the cow. Cow is one of those. I think cow resembles a buffalo or a wildebeest. I think it's more on the buffalo side, but the cow is hybrid. Is our domestic counterpart, whereas the buffalo and the wildebeest are more on the wild, and those ones they are natural. I say natural because I say they are the product of nature. There was no gene modification. They control an original DNA. An original DNA, whereas the cow is a different story. So a cow was one of those animals that were tempered with genetically. So that's why even you find them a cow milk, when you check it, it will be acidic. The cow milk will be acidic, slightly acidic, but acidic nevertheless. When you check the milk of a buffalo or wildebeest, it will be alkaline, because this is a natural animal. You know, it's a God created animal, it's a nature created animal. So that would be the same for goat. Goat milk is alkaline, but cow is not alkaline, it's acidic. So another thing you would notice about these domesticated and wild animals, check the cow. Like all the people who are farming cows, maybe even sheep, and maybe, okay, let's make a cow, let's stick to the cow and the wildebeest. These domestic animals, these hybrid ones, artificial ones, they need a lot of caring. You know, first of all, their immune system is weak. If you don't keep injecting them, people who are farming cows know this. If you don't inject them regularly in order to prevent the disease and all the stuff that comes to the livestock, and you have to dip them for the ticks and the beetles and all these parasites, you know, they will actually, if you just let them be, the cows will die. Anyone who's a livestock farmer knows this. Even at a small scale, you have to keep caring for them. But those ones in the wild, they don't need any of this. They don't need any of this. They are stronger. Their immune system is stronger. They obviously get less fat because they are always, on the move, running for your life. And this keeps them fit and healthy. And they don't, they just rub themselves on the ground whenever there's ticks or flies on top of them. But they don't need anyone to take them to a dip or to put some deadline or any of the chemicals they normally use to treat the ticks. You can see that the something that is in the wild, it can survive on its own, basically. Can survive on its own. Whereas these artificial ones, this same goes for sheep. Now for goat is more on the natural side. That's why goat is more mystic. You can climb in. An incline like this. I really appreciate those watching those ones. So a goat milk will be alkaline. So it's a natural animal. So, but because I want to stick on this topic more on the plants, because we're talking about nutrition on this group. So the nutrition is more it's plant based. We don't recommend any consumption of animals. Even though there's a difference, I'll touch this on another topic on the kind of meats that we consume. But I just want to stick on the plants for now. So I think this same scenario is same for the plants. the plants in the wild need no interference of man to survive. They survive on their own. They don't need you to water them. They don't need you to do any pest control. They don't need nothing basically. Just the sun and the rain and the wind, and let them be. They will grow. They will be strong, and then they will do what they need to do. Bear fruits, bear flowers, and everything. Whereas the ones you plant in your garden, if you have maybe a vegetable garden or any crops, anything, you have to look out for the weeds, check out if there's anything eating them, the small pest, or you just need constant checking of what's happening. They need constant monitoring. So this is just one of the noticeable things you will find between the natural and the hybrid and the hybrid plant. Something's in my eye. So also in terms of its structure, a natural plant, it will send its roots much deeper in the ground. This helps them for a maximum absorption of the minerals that is in the rocks, it's in the ground, because that's where they need to get the minerals too. So they send them deeper. Whereas artificial plant or hybrid plant, they will send them just a little bit and then maybe spread like say rhizomes or something. It doesn't go deep enough. So it doesn't have a lot of mineral content in it, because it just takes up in the surface. It takes up in the surface, and you find that in the maybe especially with the people who are maybe into maybe sangomas and people who have other uses of plants. When you find a plant maybe in some region, specifically in some region, you sometimes know that another plant, that's what I'm saying with the people who use them for other healing purposes, they will not look around for another plant, because they know they will grow in a similar or in close proximity, because it means that soil is rich in a specific mineral content, and that plant, a natural plant, will find its home where its chemical composition that will boost its chemical composition. So if that plant is a active ingredient of a maybe calcium, it will find a plant a regional location, soil that has rich in calcium, that will nourish its growth. So you find that all other plants that need that specific one, even if it's iron, that soil is rich in iron, all iron-rich plants, you will find them there. This is just a natural or cosmic arrangement. No one plants them there specifically, but they sprout there because that's the environment that encourages their growth. That's just how nature does it. This happens to prevent, obviously, mineral deficiency in plants. And you find this a lot in artificial plants or in our gardens and stuff. That's why you find maybe a plant is deficient in iron. You'll find, I always like to use the example of iron, because a lot of people are lacking iron, and iron, we hear about it every day. So it's just as important into plants as well, because when it's lacking an iron in the plant, you'll find that maybe if it's spinach or whatever you've planted, it's no longer green now, the dark green, but it gets to be yellowish. The leaves gets to be yellowish. That's a mineral deficiency, and then sometimes it ends up being dry, gets brittle, and then it dies. Or sometimes the other ones survive, but that yellowish pigmentation is a sign of lack of minerals. In that one specifically, the iron. So this process now of hybridization, or this process of making new plants, artificial plants, it happens when when the scientists or the botanists in the lab, they join. In fact, they have a lot of ways to do this. I just saw one recently, the grafting. They plant, let's say, potatoes underground. The potatoes, they grow underground, the actual balls. And then as the stem goes up, they cut the potato stem, and then they put, they join with the tomato stem. They call this the pomato the tomato plus the potato. So they make this tomato plant and use grafting and put the stem of a potato on top and wrap something around it and put some any chemical solution just to facilitate this. And then the potatoes will grow underground because that's where they will grow. They're like in the root structure. And then the tomatoes will grow on top in this one tray. That is an example of hybridization. And what happens in this sometimes they have to use, because these plants would not normally join together, so they have to be forced. So they will use a chemical that must facilitate this process, and that chemical will always be in the DNA, will always be retained in the DNA of this new plant, So, and that chemical, the other thing is inorganic, is not compatible with our body in a case where we consume now this new plant, because you're consuming that chemical as well. And that chemical is inorganic in an organic body. Someone asked about this. In fact, that's what inspired this topic. It gets clogged. No one understands it. There's no chemical affinity. So when no one understands it, the blood doesn't understand. All the organs don't understand. Okay, where must this guy be inside our body? This is starch now, or this chemical that is a binder of these two different plants. No one understands in the body. So what happens is it ends up being, it has no use. There's no chemical affinity. There is no use. So it ends up clogging our system. This is one of the key things we suggest, that when you're trying to heal your body, you have to stay away from these artificial foods or artificial plants, because they clog up the system. They have nowhere to go. What ends up happening, it's like some stranger come up in a football match. There's a match in progress. You come in the ground, you are disturbing the players, you're on the way, you don't know where to go, you go to the fence, you're obstructing their view, you just lost, and then maybe you end up going to the exit side just to sit there. And then what do you do now? When people need to go out, you are on the way, you have no place in the system. That's what happens with this organic stuff. So that's why we say stay away from them, especially when you try to cleanse your system, so that you can get good results in everything you do. So those are hybrid. So the natural one of the key factors that distinguishes it is that at the base, in its chemical composition now, at the base it would have the three elements. This will be the carbon, this will be the hydrogen and the oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, or the CHO structure or the CHO chain. Why these ones? Because it's just the way it is in both plants and animals. Anything that is natural will have these three at the base, and then all other elements, calcium, magnesium, whatever else comes in, will come and join into these, and then the different arrangement will determine whatever that is being built. This is like the building blocks. So carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Those three, I think everyone can recognize just their importance. For instance, carbon is what determines for instance, my pigmentation, the color of my skin, because carbon is black. So the higher the concentration of carbon in my skin, the more the color black would express, as I show now. So the less carbon people, the less the color black would do. Those people who know about Sheikh Anta Diop, he did something that's called the melanin dosage test in the mummies in Egypt, just to determine the sort of the race of those mummies. So he did a melanin dosage test, because the carbon will not deteriorate over time, even over 2,000 years after you're dead. Once they can find a piece of your skin, if it's preserved nice, they can determine the concentration of carbon. Then it would tell the color of the people and stuff like that. So carbon is that importance. Carbon determines the quality of life in all living things. So that's why it must be there at the base. These are of the natural. Artificial, they cannot have these, because no man can create this. Only God or nature can create this structure. Secondly is hydrogen. Hydrogen, I think when testing the pH to check if something is acidic or alkaline, we are checking the hydrogen ions. How many hydrogen ions? If the number of hydrogen ions is less than 7, but that means it's being less. The less, the more acidic. Like it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and stuff. The lesser, the more acidic, the more deadly. Whereas the more hydrogen, which is 7, 8, 9, 10 and stuff, the more alkalinity, the more life-giving. So the hydrogen already tells you there, it determines the quality of life itself. So it has to be there at the base. I think the last one is oxygen. I think everyone, I think from even kids, recognize the importance of oxygen. And if anyone tells you they cannot recognize the importance of oxygen, all you need to do is just close their nose for 2 minutes. I'll tell you they'll recognize it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share, guys, with this video. I just always want to make them nice and short, and then I'll just unpack different topics as we move along. Anyway, if you found value in this video, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, because that's how we're trying to push out the content more and more now on the video side, more on YouTube, because Facebook indexing is not working nice with videos. So I want to make sure that we share more information on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, comment, and suggest other topics we should speak about. Anyway, thank you, fam. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.